Right now, there's a bunch of hurricanes and things that have been taking place. Just had Harvey in Houston, and there's about to be, I think Irma is going to make landfall like Thursday. Actually, I know some people that are on vacation right now in Puerto Rico that can't leave Puerto Rico. Like they're about to get slammed with this hurricane. And she was saying that basically they're going to stay at this hotel and hope for the best. So hopefully they will be safe and everything will be good. But you know, in light of this kind of situation, once again, is it the end of the world? Is it the end of the is this the days the Bible has spoken of, the last days? Who could possibly deny it in light of all these storms? And I feel like I've made a lot of videos about this very same thing. Where this is not what's being discussed in the Bible. There will be many days after this, and those days are also not being discussed in the Bible. It's easy. I think part of it is that we're the people that are alive now, and certainly part of it is the conditioning of the tradition, believing that you live in the last days. These things are not being discussed in the Bible. You got to read the passages according to the context. You can't just separate out a passage from Luke 21 and say, see, signs in the heaven, eclipse, sign from September 23rd, hurricanes. How could you possibly deny this? It's not, even that is not an easy task. That is a fairly difficult task, I would say, to draw that kind of connection. It's much easier to just read that passage according to context. Jesus is speaking to individuals. He's telling them that their generation is not going to pass away before the events take place. Not that the generation that sees these things is the generation. I mean, technically he is saying that, but it is their generation, not some generation thousands of years into the future that is seeing similar events. It's not that at all. The Bible all takes place in Israel. 90 some percent of the Bible takes place right there in Israel, right there, right around Israel. It's not discussing events that are happening 6,600 miles away on a continent that's not even discussed in the Bible. That's not what's going on there. What's happening there, to come to that understanding, you've got to embrace a religious tradition that places the land that we live in, America, as the focal point of the Bible, which it is obviously not. It's sometimes kind of difficult explaining that with individuals because they just don't really seem to see it. I think an easier way of doing it, a way I try to do it, is just to look at the past. Today's 2017. What was happening in 1940? We had World War II going on. You had Hitler taking over the world, it seemed. That wasn't the Antichrist. That wasn't the armies of Revelation. When we dropped atomic bombs on Japan, that wasn't the fulfillment of any biblical prophecy. What about when Napoleon was marching with his armies taking over everywhere? What about the bubonic plague? That wasn't one of the seals of Revelation. A lot of things have happened on the planet, and look, the planet remains. The people remain. I was thinking the other day, there's a television show called Vikings, and in the first season, the Vikings come and they capture, I think it's a monastery in England, and they find a guy there who is reading the book of Revelation. And in the book of Revelation, I think he was reading Revelation chapter 13, he sees the fulfillment of the prophecy in the Viking invasion. There it is again, you see. He is inserting his own day into the text that's already at the time, 1,000 or so years old. We do the same thing today. When we read the text and we see hurricanes and earthquakes and everything happening now, and we think that it's the end of days, we're inserting ourselves into a 2,000-year-old text. You got to look at it through the lens of who first wrote this, who first read these words, who first said these words. You got to look at it from their standpoint. When you read the word "you," there's certainly many times where it's applicable for you to, or you have some kind of application, certainly, but not in every instance of the word "you." There are many times where the word "you" is being said, and it means you, the person that is standing right here face to face, the person who is reading this letter directly from whoever wrote it, John or Paul or whoever. So yeah, again, these hurricanes are not an indication of the end of days. They are just hurricanes happening on the planet. They have nothing to do with the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. So just a little video there on that. And still waiting on September 23rd. It's coming up here pretty soon. It'll be very interesting to see what the new theories will be after that date passes. So yeah, that's it. See you guys.